Hare Krishna. Sorry for the delay in starting. We will
Hare
start
Krishna.
with Mangalacharan prayers and prayers, and then the invocation prayers for Śrī Īśopaniṣad. So those in the room, please feel free to recite along. I'll share the screen. Second. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada. Okay, now we'll quickly recite the Śrī Īśopaniṣad invocation verses. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete. And because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself. Because he is the complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjitha
Magrada kashyap jittanam.
Animate or inanimate that is within the is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota. And one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. Okay, wonderful. So, once again, welcome everyone to the Śrī Īśopaniṣad series. So we are probably, this might be the last, or not the last, there are a couple of devotees left to present. So all the devotees who are taking the Bhakti Shastri course, like the more formal version with homeworks and tests and all those things. So one of the purposes of Bhakti Shastri is also to be able to understand these Shastras deeply, and also to be able to share it with others. So it's a voluntary call for people who are, for devotees who are taking the course to, select 1 or 2 or 3 mantras from the Īśopaniṣad and speak to us about it. It also serves as a good summary. The test is coming up, so, for multiple reasons, and plus we can all relish. You all are probably bored of hearing from me all the time. So, we can hear from the other devotees. And so it's all just a perfect win-win situation. So we will turn it over to our first presenter for today, which is Sarvashakti Mataji. So she looks a little nervous, but I'm sure she'll do exceptionally well. She's one of the very sincere students. All of the students are very sincere, but she's extra sincere. So anyway, so we'll turn it over to her, and let's hear from her on verse numbers 12, 13, and 14. Yeah, which are the, if you remember, the Sambhuti and Asambhuti set of verses. Okay, so just make sure to slide or tilt the panel to kind of make your video. Yeah. So let me. So yeah, you can basically browse around and.
To magnify, like in the back, it's hard to see.
Yeah, sure. So there is no advanced view, is there? Yeah. So basically you can start with 12 and then I will change the settings to bigger font size. Is that good enough? Maybe. And then you can just scroll like this, and to go to the next verse, you can just scroll all the way down and go to the next kind of thing. So before that, just make sure your view on the Zoom is showing up.
You're not sharing the screen.
Oh, okay. I'll share the screen. Just a second. Thanks for reminding. Okay. I'll make sure that your view is good. You see now half of your face is coming. Now it's good. And yeah, you can.
Okay.
I'll just sit here so I can. Oh, I'll do that. You start now.
So, Hare Krishna. So first of all, I'd like to thank Prabhuji and Mataji for giving me the opportunity. And when I was saying last week also, like I was preparing for the presentation, I realized how much time and effort goes into preparing a class. I mean, just a little presentation, takes up so much time. I don't know how Prabhuji does it, but this experience has made me tremendous, increase my, I'm greatly, I'm appreciate, I'm able to appreciate, and, I have my gratitude and appreciation for Prabhuji has increased tremendously with the experience. So thank you so much, Prabhuji, for doing this week after week after week. You're really amazing. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So this is my first time talking about a spiritual topic, and especially in front of so many people. I'm really, really nervous. So please forgive me if I make any mistakes, and please correct me. Okay. So Today I'll be talking about the Īśopaniṣad, mantras 12, 13, and 14, which basically talks about Sambhuti and Asambhuti. So I'm going to recite the 12th sloka. Andam tamaha pravishyanti ye asambhutimupasate tato bhuya ivate tamo yayu sambhutyam rata. Translation. So those who are engaged in the worship of demigods enter into the darkest region of ignorance, and still more so do the worshippers of the impersonal absolute. So in the 12th mantra, Sambhuti refers to absolute personality of Godhead, which is independent, who is independent of everything, and he is eternal. And Asambhuti refers to something that doesn't have independent existence, like demigods who are not eternal. And the translation says, worship of Asambhuti leads to darkness, and worship of Sambhuti leads to greater darkness. So we might be wondering how worship of absolute personality of Godhead can lead to greater darkness. So here in this mantra, Sambhuti refers to impersonal Brahman, which is nothing but the bodily effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So let's learn why both demigod worship and impersonal worship both lead to darkness. So we'll first learn about the demigod worship. So we'll learn who are demigods, and is demigod worship good or bad, and why demigod worship leads to darkness, and why Krishna says that demigod worshippers are alpa medasa, or less intelligent, and how to properly worship demigods, and why demigod worship is better than impersonal worship, and how Krishna helps in demigod worship. So who are demigods? So demigods are basically faithful servants of Krishna. Just like a king has ministers to help in the administration, demigods are like ministers of Krishna, who are given different departments in the universe. So is demigod worship good or bad? So it basically depends on the level of the person. So I'll give you an example. So let's say if father has two children, okay, and they both have gotten the results of their exam that day. So they both come to the father and they say, the first child says, "Oh father, I scored 60%." And father says, "Wow, good job," and he appreciates the first child. And the second child also says, "I also got 60%," but the father chastises him. So the second child wonders, but and he asks the father, "We both got 60%, and you're appreciating him and you're chastising me. Why is that?" So the father replies that, see, he is capable of scoring 40%, but he got 60%, which is a progress. But you're capable of scoring 80%, but you got 60%, which is not a progress for you. So it's like a step down. So similarly, for atheists and materialistic people, demigod worship is a progress. They're progressing to higher levels. But whoever is a sincere spiritual seeker, it's not a progress for them to do demigod worship. It's like a step down. Okay. So even though demigod worship it's good, it's pious, and it's religious, but it's not the best. Why? Because whatever results we get from worshiping the demigods, they are temporary, and we won't be able to get liberated from the cycle of birth and death. And so some may ask, if demigod worship is not the best, why is it mentioned in the Vedas? So the purpose of demigod worship is to gradually elevate one to the higher level. So everybody has different natures, and based on their nature, they may not be able to get elevated directly, and they may not feel the inclination to worship Krishna directly. So for them, an alternative in the form of demigods is provided as intermediaries. So they can worship to demigod and then gradually get elevated. So, so how it works is, basically, whoever, following the Vedas, if they start worshiping the demigods, they will get some material benefits by worshiping the demigod. And they eventually, by through Vedic literature, studying Vedic literature, they'll come to know that demigods are also servants of Krishna, and eventually they will start they'll approach Krishna. So when they initially approach Krishna, they don't go out of love. Okay, they approach Krishna from some, with some material intention, but by associating with Krishna and worshipping Krishna, Krishna purifies them, elevates them, and then the love for Krishna develops in their heart, and they become pure devotees, and they go back to Krishna's abode. Okay, so why worship of demigods leads to darkness? If it's good, why does it lead to darkness? So as I mentioned earlier, if a demigod worship gradually elevates one to go to pure Krishna bhakti, then it's good. It's like an indirect way of worshipping Krishna. But if someone thinks that demigod worship is the highest, then that's a problem. Because if they think that's the highest, then they will be bound in the cycle of dharma, artha, kama, and they will get all the pious credits, and then after they leave the body, they go to demigod planet, which is heaven, and they enjoy the credits, and after the pious credits get exhausted, they will come back again to the material world, and they'll be entangled in the cycle of birth and death. So that is why they say that they will still remain in darkness, because they cannot get liberated. They'll still remain in the material world. So like the example that I've given, the 40 and 60%, if somebody thinks that 60% is the highest, then they won't be able to reach to their highest potential. They'll still remain at 60%. So why does Krishna call demigod worshippers less intelligent or alpamedasa? See, demigods are temporary, demigod planets are temporary, and whatever results we get from demigod worship, they are also temporary. So Krishna calls them less intelligent because, see, they put in so much effort, time, and energy and the thought process to do demigod worship, and the results that they get are temporary. So when they put the same amount of effort, time, and energy and their mind in Krishna, they can get eternal results. And also Krishna helps them to progress and reach him. Okay. And then that is why Krishna calls them alpamedasa. So why is demigod worship better than impersonal worship? Like in the translation, we read that demigod worship leads to darkness and impersonal worship leads to greater darkness, right? So why is it so? So demigod worship is personal in nature. So if somebody eventually starts worshipping Krishna, it will be easier for them to accept Krishna's personal form and worship Krishna's personal form. And second reason being, so the demigod worshippers are not, at least they're not doing it with the intention of getting liberated. They don't, at least they're aware that they're not worshipping demigods to get liberated. And also, as I said earlier, eventually there's a chance for the demigod worshippers, through Vedic literature, eventually they may realize that the demigods are servants of Krishna, and they may go to Krishna, start worshipping Krishna. So how to properly worship demigods? See, like satisfying Krishna satisfies everyone, including the demigods. Just like when we water the roots of the tree, all the whole tree gets nourished. We don't have to separately water the leaves and branches. So similarly, demigods are different limbs of Lord Vishnu. So if anybody satisfies Krishna, pleases Krishna, then even the demigods are automatically pleased. But we should never disrespect demigods. It's very, very important. We should always respect demigods. Okay. And how Krishna helps in demigod worship. So see, Krishna is a well-wisher. He always, he wants everyone. He doesn't want anyone to suffer in this material world. Okay. He wants everyone to come back to him and happily stay, live with him. But he's so kind and accommodative that, see, he's like, if you cannot worship me directly, no problem. Then you can worship demigods, and I'll provide the benefits, the material benefits, whatever you desire through the demigods. So, so Krishna is the one who gives us that faith, to worship that particular demigod, and also he gives the material benefits through the demigod. So, Krishna is the one who gives us, this shows Krishna's like unparalleled compassion and non-enviousness. See, he's the supreme, but he's not like, oh, I'm the supreme, everybody should worship me. But he's not like that. But he's like, whatever way, whichever way it helps you come closer to me, I'm okay helping you in that process. So he's so kind and compassionate in that way. So I can give you an example of a king, prince, and a minister, where we can understand this demigod worship and the position of Krishna and a relationship with Krishna, we can understand better. So once there was a king and he had a prince, and the prince wanted to become the king, but he couldn't become the king as long as the king was there in the kingdom. So he was jealous of his father and he wanted to enjoy separately from his father. So he took his share of wealth and he moved far from the kingdom, and he used up all the wealth and he became bankrupt. So he started working for some materialists, and they were exploited, and he was getting exploited by the materialists, where he was, he had to work so hard and he was getting paid very, very less. So king, when he came to know this, he was, how we parents will feel, right? So king was feeling so bad, and, seeing his son struggle. So he sent his minister, asking the minister to go to the prince and hire him, give him a job with better benefits. So the minister goes to the prince and he offers him a better job with better benefits. So the prince accepts the job, and then he comes back to the kingdom. The prince doesn't come back to the palace of the king, but he at least comes back to the kingdom of the king, and he starts working for the minister. And gradually he realizes that, oh, minister is not the highest, he's getting all the benefits from everything from the king, and he's giving it to everyone working for him. And then he thinks, oh, if I'm working for the minister, I'm getting so many benefits. What if I work for the king? I'll get better benefits. So he'll approach the king and he'll say, I want to work for you. But the king says, see, son, you're my son, everything belongs to you. Why don't you just come and stay with me? But the prince says, no, I don't want to stay with you. I just want to work for you. So he starts working for the king. So as he's working for the king and associating with the king and serving the king, he realizes how soft-hearted and loving and caring the king is. And then, his love for the king develops. And then one day he'll go to the king and he'll say, oh, father, I want to come back to you. And the king with open arms, he'll say, okay, please come back and stay with me. So our position is also like pretty similar to the prince. So we were envious of Krishna and we wanted to enjoy separately from Krishna. That is the reason why we came to the material world. And, we've been, working for the materialist and getting exploited by working so hard and getting paid so less. So Krishna felt pity for us, because he's our eternal father, he loves us so much, he cannot see us struggle so much. So he sent demigods, and he started giving everything, because we are not ready to go and worship him directly. So he sent the demigods, and he started giving all the benefits through the demigods to us. And eventually, when people first, as I said earlier, when we start worshiping demigods, eventually we'll understand that Krishna is the highest, and demigods are servants of Krishna, and then we'll approach Krishna. And slowly by worshiping Krishna, associating with Krishna, serving him, we'll understand how kind and merciful Krishna is, and our love for Krishna awakens. And then one day we'll say, okay, Father, I want to come back to you. And Krishna is like, please come. And then he'll help us go back to him. So that's like an analogy, so we can understand this concept better. So we learned about demigod worship. Now we're going to learn about impersonal worship. So who are impersonalists? There are two kinds of impersonalists, okay? Brahmavadis and Mayavadis. So Brahmavadis are not offensive to the Lord, but to the personal form of the Lord. So they know that the personal form of the Lord is the highest, but they're still attracted to the impersonal Brahman. So they're not offensive to the Lord. But Mayavadis, on the other hand, they're very offensive to the Lord, and they're worse than the demigod worshippers. Why? Because they think that the personal form of the Lord is material, and the impersonal Brahman is the highest. And they think that the impersonal Brahman, when it comes in contact with the matter, it creates, like it gives rise to a personal form of the Lord. Like when they come in avatars, right, like Rama, Krishna, to the material world, they think that the impersonal Brahman, when it comes in contact with matter, gives rise to the personal form, and it's like material in nature. and it's bound to the three modes of material nature. So it's offensive. That is why they're offensive. And they mislead people into believing that the impersonal Brahman is the highest, and that is why they go to the darkest regions of hell. Okay, so we can learn why worship of impersonal is darker or worse than the worship of demigods. So here they're not referring to attaining impersonal Brahman. Attaining impersonal Brahman is definitely much higher than demigod worship. Here we're talking about worship of impersonal Brahman. Why is it worse than demigod worship? Because the Mayavadis, the impersonalists, they mislead people into believing that the impersonal worship is the highest path of liberation from the material bondage. So people who believe that it's the highest path, they start to, and it's the longest path to, like Prabhuji says, it's a staircase method, right? That it takes a long time if we go that route. So they try to worship that way, and then they get frustrated because they don't get the results as they desire. And there's no seva involved in the impersonal worship. So they get frustrated, and eventually it can lead to atheism. Okay, so we can also know why attaining impersonal Brahman, even though it's spiritual, right? Why is it not recommended, compared to bhakti? Because it's a long, as I said, it's a long process. It's a staircase, like it will take a long time for us to take the stairs and go up 100 floors, right? But bhakti is like taking the elevator. It's very quick. And in the impersonal, there's no help from Krishna. But in the personal bhakti, the Krishna personally helps us, so we can go closer to him. And in impersonal, there's no seva, and there's no rasa involved. So in bhakti, it's full of seva and rasa, and it's so blissful to do, bhakti to the person, Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we'll come to 13. So next I'm going to talk about mantra 13. Sorry.
Click again.
Okay. I'm going to recite the verse, the mantra. Anya devahu sambhavat, anya dahur asambhavat, iti shushrumadhiranam, yenastad vichachakshire. Translation. Okay. So it is said that one result is obtained by worshipping the supreme cause of all causes, and that another result is obtained by worshipping what is not supreme. All this is heard from the undisturbed authorities who clearly explained it. So let's try to understand what the translation is saying. So it says one result is obtained by worshipping Sambhuti. Okay, here in mantra 13, Sambhuti refers to Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is the personal form, okay, person. And another result is obtained by worshipping Asambhuti. Here Asambhuti refers to anything that is not supreme, but everything other than Supreme Personality of Godhead, like demigod worship, impersonal worship, or social service. When people say Manav Seva is Madhav Seva. So all these, they come under Asambhuti. So we already learned about demigod worship and impersonal worship. Let's learn a little bit about social service. So if you're doing Krishna Bhakti, doesn't mean we shouldn't do social service. We should do social service, but in connection with Krishna, not in disconnection with Krishna. So what it means is, whenever we do whatever social service we do, we have to make sure that we are bringing people closer to Krishna, not making them go far away from Krishna. So for example, most common social service people do is Annadanam, right? Like we distribute food. So instead of just distributing food, we can distribute Krishna Prasadam to them. And we can have them say Hare Krishna when we are distributing prasadam. So by doing that, when they honor Krishna Prasadam and when they say Hare Krishna, then it will purify them. And it will also spiritualize our charity that we are doing. Okay, so the best service that one can do is, we can give them Harinam, or or spiritual education. So that way they can come closer to Krishna, and they can get out of this cycle of birth and death. and they don't have to come back and suffer in this material world again. So that's the best service we can do. See, even if we could give food, right, for how many people we can give, for how long can we give, right? So we can give only for that day or maybe for few weeks. But if we give them spiritual education, they can come closer to Krishna, and they can get liberated from the cycle of birth and death, and they don't have to suffer anymore. So I really like this statement that Chaitanya Charan Prabhu said in his lecture. The best Manava Seva is to connect man to God and to make God accessible to man. So how can we connect man to God? Like book distribution, prasadam distribution, or Harinam Sankirtan, or outreach programs like Prabhuji and Mataji are doing. So we can, connect man to God. And how can we make God accessible to man? By having them come to the temple so they can access God, and can do services. So we've talked about so many paths, right? Like demigod worship, impersonal worship, social service, and worship to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there are different paths. So do they all lead to the same goal or same destination? No. So just like we have different trains, okay? So there's one train going to Delhi, one train goes to Mumbai, one train going to Chennai, one train going to Hyderabad. So I cannot say that I can go on any train, I can still reach Delhi, right? It doesn't happen. So we have to take the right train to go to the right destination, because they're all going in different directions and they all have different destinations. Similarly, when we take different paths, we cannot reach Krishna, okay? If you are on different path and if we want to reach Krishna, then we have to take the train that goes to Krishna directly. And Krishna Bhakti is the only train that goes directly to Vaikuntha. There's no other way, only Krishna Bhakti if you want to go to Krishna. So I want to give an example about how to understand about different paths a little bit better, and how we should make choice, and how we'll know if that path is right for us. Okay, so there'll be a person, okay, who's diseased, okay, and he'll try different medications, like some people will try Ayurveda, homeopathy, naturopathy, and allopathy. So he tries different solutions to cure his disease. And he'll also consult his friends, neighbors, and family members. Okay, this is what this is the problem I have, and I'm trying to do this. And some friends suggest him that, okay, we also had the same problem, and I tried different solution. Then this is a solution that worked for me, and not just for me, but it worked for like 4 other people. So if that person has faith in his friends, that path, that's whatever solution worked for all 5 of his friends, if that person has faith in what the friends are saying, he will directly choose that solution, and he'll use that. So he doesn't have to try different solutions and waste time. He can directly choose that, and then he can get cured. So how will he know if that medicine is working or not? See, if a person is sick, when his health is getting restored, when the blood results, everything, lab results come out good, and when his energy levels are becoming better, and he doesn't have pain, then he'll know he's getting cured. So similarly, we have different paths, right? And how would we know which path is working or not? So here we have Shabda Pramana. We have scriptures and sadhus who are saying that it works. And we have so many examples from Srimad Bhagavatam, who have taken this Krishna Bhakti path and it worked for them and they reached the highest destination. So either we can, if we have faith in Shabda Pramana and sadhus, what they said, and the path that all the devotees, great devotees have taken, we can directly take that path. And if we have faith, and then go directly and reach the same destination. But if we don't have faith, then we can hop around and try different paths, and then we can get discouraged and finally take the Krishna Bhakti path or train to go to Vaikuntha. So choice is ours if we want to, if we have faith and go directly, or if we can hop around. But in Kali Yuga, we don't have enough time to explore different options. So if we have faith, we should just go with what Shabda Pramana Shastras and sadhus are saying, and then go. How will we know if the path is working for us or not? See, we'll get eternal happiness, like no matter what situations we are facing. Earlier when we used to do demigod worship and all, the results will be temporary. We'll be very happy getting that. But we are again we'll have next desire, and like the happiness that we were getting is temporary. But when we do Krishna bhakti, we'll experience for ourselves, like what, no matter what situation we're going through, we can eternally be happy and so blissful. So we can try that, if that medicine is working or not, if the health is improving or not, how that person is knowing, right? By improving by the symptoms. The same way we can also experience and try it out if that path is working or not. So, and also in Bhagavad Gita, so 9.25, Krishna says, those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings. And those who worship me will live with me. So Krishna clearly says here, worship of different entities leads to different destinations here. Okay, and mantra 14. Okay. I'll recite the verse. Sambhutim cha vinasham cha yastad vedho bhayam saha vinashena mrityum tirtva sambhutyam mritam mashnute. Translation. Okay, one should know perfectly the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna and his transcendental name, form, qualities, and pastimes, as well as the temporary material creation with its temporary demigods, men, and animals. When one knows these, he surpasses death and the ephemeral cosmic manifestation with it. And in the eternal kingdom of God, he enjoys his eternal life of bliss and knowledge. So here in mantra 14, asambhuti refers to knowledge of the material world, and sambhuti refers to knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, and this translation is saying it's very important to know both. Okay, we have to know we have to have knowledge of both material world and Supreme Personality of Godhead. And also we should learn, how to balance between sambhuti and asambhuti. And here asambhuti is also referred as vinasha. Okay. And why is it important to know both? Okay, so we can know what to do, what not to do, and we can like draw a distinction between pious material activities and spiritual activities. So sometimes when you're doing an activity, it may look like the same, like the example I've given you, like distributing food. For externally it'll look the same, but it's just the change in consciousness, the consciousness with which we do it, that spiritualizes the activity. So whatever activity we are doing, we can spiritualize it by the consciousness that we're doing it for Krishna. So, and also knowing both will, we can know the temporariness of this material world by knowing the material world and the knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So even though the duration of life varies between different species, but the whole material world is mortal. Okay, so in Bhagavad Gita 8.16, Krishna says, in the material world, from Brahmaloka down to the lowest planet, all are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death takes place. And it's also temporary. So Brahma may live for a longer time than us, but everywhere the birth and death and takes place, and everywhere it's miserable. Okay, so after knowing that material things are temporary, should we reject them? No, we should not reject them, but we should utilize, we shouldn't reject all of the material things, but we should utilize in service of Krishna. Okay, so for example, if we after reading all this, we'll come to know a body is material and it's temporary. Oh, we should stop caring for our body and we should reject our body. No, we should use our senses, mind, the body in the service of Krishna. That would be the perfect way of doing it. Also, I wanted to share, I really like this point Prabhupada said in the purport. I'd like to read that. Okay, so there is no question of liking or disliking the truth. If we want to be saved from repeated birth and death, individually and collectively, we must take to devotional service of Krishna. There can be no compromise, for this is a matter of necessity. Only by surrender to Krishna can one transcend death. So Prabhupada is stressing here that if we want to be saved from repeated birth and death, the only way is we should definitely take to the path of Krishna Bhakti, because it's a necessity. It's not an option. So if we want to be saved, we have to take to the path of Krishna Bhakti. That's the only train that goes to Vaikunta. if we want to be liberated. So I wanted to add a little bit. See, Krishna is the source of our entire existence, even if we acknowledge it or not. So he's the one who gives us water to drink, air to breathe, food to eat. And he also gives us the ability to breathe or to digest food, or the whole body functioning, or the consciousness. Everything is given, intelligence, everything, ability to do anything is given by him. And he does that every day, 24/7. Even though we don't acknowledge it, even though we don't appreciate it or thank him for that, he's doing it. Just like the parents do, right, for all the kids, even though they sometimes don't appreciate it or acknowledge it, parents do it. So he's a loving father, so he's doing it for us. So when he's doing so much for us, the least we can do is, take some time every day to thank him, to show our gratitude to him. And the best way to show our gratitude is to chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And he's so merciful that there's no difference between Krishna and his name. And he's so merciful that there are no rules and regulations for chanting the holy name. Anybody can chant. They can chant anytime, anywhere. But there's only one criteria. You have to chant with love and hear attentively. So just like when we call our parents, right, and we talk over the phone, we talk with love, right, not like as a duty, and we hear attentively what they're saying. So japa is, and chanting is like, just like our personal connection with Krishna. It's a talk time with Radha Krishna. So whatever we are chanting, we have to chant with our heart and hear attentively to what he's, like to the mantra, just like we hear what our parents are saying. So here, most of us are like parents, we have kids. So we can understand this, where, we do it, so much for our kids unconditionally every day, with even if the kids are not acknowledging it, they don't appreciate it, we still do it every day. Just like that, Radha Krishna are our eternal parents, and they're doing so much for us. So when the kids do something in return, when we do so much for us, for them, when they do even a little bit out of love, to show their love to us, we feel so happy, right? So when Radha Krishna is doing so much for us, when we do little thing, at least, some time we spend for them and do some little thing, whatever little we can do, he'll feel so happy. So let's all take a little bit of time every day and chant for Radha Krishna, and do anything, whatever, I think will please him. And by doing that, we are only getting benefited. So they're so kind, they give all the benefits to us only. So yeah, I wanted to share that. Yeah, thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you for tolerating me. No problem.
Questions?
Very nice.
You could draw the attention all the time. That was the best thing.
Thank you.
Agree.
The questions that side.
Any, please, comments or questions, anything,
Comment. Hare Krishna Mataji. Actually, I can't believe that it is the first time we are speaking. It's very well that he's spoken. I have not heard Prabhuji talk about these. I mean, at least I didn't get a chance to hear them, but this is actually very, very crystal clear. I don't have any doubts in my mind. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm just repeating what I learned from Prabhuji.
You did an excellent.
Thank you.
Examples you kept giving with each.
That's good. For the first time, if you're speaking like that,
Thank
it's
you.
wonderful. Well done. Well done.
Thank
May
you.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Excellent message.
Well done, Mataji. Very nice lecture. It is
Thank
very good. And
So I'm repeating whatever Prabhuji said. So
yeah, but even though you learned very good.
long line of repeaters. Original speaker.
Thank you very much.
And Mayavadis and in person by spiritual path. How to differentiate Krishna Bhakti from others? Like, is there an easy way to differentiate between the train that goes directly to Krishna versus all the other paths?
So the example I gave, right, Prabhuji, with the medicine, that people can take, with the disease, if one has a disease, they can try different kinds of solutions like Ayurveda, homeopathy, but they'll know if that path, if that thing is working or not when their health is getting improved, right? So when they're getting healthy, when their energy levels are coming, becoming better, and if they don't have any pain or symptoms, that is the thing that shows that that path is working, that solution is working, to improve the health. So similarly, for all these, like that, the demigod worship, everything, there's so many paths. So Krishna Bhakti, there's so many people in Bhagavatam, we have so many examples in Srimad Bhagavatam that people have tried that path, doing direct Krishna Bhakti, and they've all reached the supreme destination. So the demigod worship, it's, as I said, if whoever is like materialist or atheist, it's like a stepping stone for them. They can go eventually to Krishna. But but if we want to explore different options, we can do it. But as I said, with impersonalist worship, sometimes they get frustrated and it's a long process, and demigod worship, we get results, but they're all temporary and limited results, materialistic results that we get. We don't get eternal results. And if we think that this life is the last life that we're going to have, then we can choose any path and explore any path. But it's very rare to get human birth. And Kali Yuga, we hardly live for, like, we don't, it's not like Satya Yuga and Treta Yuga and Dwapar Yuga where they had like long lifespan. In Kali Yuga, we have very short lifespan and we don't have time to explore different options. So if we have faith in our scriptures and sadhus, and if we have faith in all the devotees who took that direct path, Krishna Bhakti, and they got elevated, then if we have faith, we can take that path directly, and we can look for ourselves, like how, things are changing in our life, how, if I'm getting a better, if I'm becoming a better person, if things are, situations, same situation, if I got it before coming into Krishna consciousness, it would be like a disaster for me to handle. But I'm staying more calm and more tolerant to the situation and having more faith in Krishna. All these things, will, and the anarthas are getting removed. So these are all the signs that show that we are going in the right path and we are eternally blissful, like no matter what is happening in our day-to-day life, we can always stay calm and blissful. And that's the main thing what everybody is looking for, right? Whatever people are doing in the material world, they're doing it for happiness, be it, going out for vacation or buying something or anything. The baseline is, they're looking for happiness, but they're getting temporary happiness, by doing shopping or anything. It gives us temporary happiness. But if you go buy a car, it will stay, or a dress, we'll be happy for some time. But will the same dress give us happiness throughout our life? No. And will that happiness keep increasing? No. But when we do Krishna Bhakti, our happiness keeps increasing day by day. And that is a sign that it's working. And we can take the straight train, right, direct train, rather than exploring different options in the short period of lifespan that we have. That's why.
Wonderful, Mataji. Thank you. Very nice.
Oh
Just
my
a comment to same thing what other devotees were saying. Very concise, precise presentation by Mataji, very crystal clear, with excellent examples.
Thank you.
I think Ashutosh Prabhu has a question or a comment.
Yeah, like everyone very nicely done. So my question was, you said if we do ancestor worship, like we will be born with the ancestors, the true back to the ancestors. So what does that mean? Like, is there an ancestor world somewhere?
Now they do that Shraddh, right, Prabhuji? When they do that, I think there is an ancestor world. I don't know.
There's a planet of ancestors, and if they have not been properly served, then they don't make spiritual progress by taking other life forms and completing the cycle and get another chance to go back to the spiritual world. So by doing that ancestor worship, we are helping them making forward progress. But if we worship the ancestors, we go to the planet of ancestors where they're, taking whatever form of life that is. And, depending on how their activities and karma have been and how their descendants have what they have done for them, what pious activities they have done for them, it enables them to move forward from there. So it's important to do pious activities in the name of our ancestors. And also, it is important that we educate our children, again, for the pious oriented people, to do that for us, so that we can, they can help us to keep moving forward. But all that is in a cycle of sort of material world cycle. So, we must do these pious activities in the name. So we see in the temple, people sponsor prasadam on the passing away or on the death anniversary of their forefathers. That's a good activity. Whatever activity that children do in the name of their forefathers, they get the benefit for that. Otherwise, if our children don't do that, we'll also be stuck. Okay, so
we don't have to do that when we are in Krishna consciousness, right?
then when we are in Krishna consciousness, they get the supreme benefit. So, like in the case of Prahlad, very strong example. The first thing that Prahlad Maharaj asked Lord Nrsimhadev is to forgive his father and relieve him of his sins. Nrsimhadev said, what to say of relieving his sins? He has gone back to Vaikuntha itself. So all his sins have obviously been released, not only to the extent that he will need to take a next birth and start a pious life. He has already gone back. So please ask something else. He said, you didn't use your boon that I gave you because it was already done. So that's what good children, devotee children, can do for their forefathers. 21 generations. He said not one, 21 generations. So you must, if you're not a devotee, at least pray that somewhere down below there's a devotee that is born.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
All right. Thank you. So next, okay. We have, who is it? Ashish Prabhu or Kalyani Mata? You're. Let me pull up your presentation. 1 second. You don't need Veda base, do you? Do you need Veda base? You need to show Veda base?
Veda base, just for my reference, if I'll forget, I can jump it, but I will, mostly I'll go with the presentation.
So Kalyani Mataji, this is working, right? Okay, great. So that works. Okay, so so Veda base is on one tab and your slides are on the other tab. You can just ऐसे double arrow key से कर सकते हैं आप, arrow key से, और इससे आप you can switch the tabs.
Hare Krishna. Let me first start the verse of Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityanandana Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakti Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. We should start with verses. Next, my humble obeisances and my dandavat to Sri Hari Sri Radha Maharani ji, Sri Tulsi Maharani ji, my parents, all acharyas and Gurujan, Guru Tulya Prabhuji or Mataji, who is giving this nice opportunity. And this is also my first time when our Mataji, who really nicely give, she was telling that she was nervous. Now I'm making a nervous because of they did very nicely. And always I'll come to the next. This is the very first time for me also. So please forgive me if I'll make a mistakes, and if you can take some notes. It's all blessing from Acharyas and Guruji.
Screen भी share हो रहा है.
So definitely, I do not have much narrations, the way of communicating how Mataji and the previously Prabhuji are all done. So I will definitely take a support of PPTs which I prepared. So let's get started. Hare Krishna. So now we are came to the very tail end of the Śrī Īśopaniṣad mantras, from invocations to the till that now Mataji have described. There are overall 18 mantras and there is one invocation mantra. I'm going to present today, I'll try to present today the mantra 17, which is very intense and deep philosophy by itself. And no one no one would like to talk about those things because it talks about the death. When someone in the deathbed or he was approaching to the death, what will be his mood. So let me go to the next verse.
Just click on it, yeah, and then
So I just will take a few minutes to describe the structure of Śrī Īśopaniṣad. As we know that we have a total 18 verses, we can broadly divide those mantras in 3 big sections, big parts. The first one is the vision, second one is guidelines provided, and third one is the prayers. So what is the vision that I have quoted here? The simple formula for our spiritual purifications may be called a vision. So in vision, they have nicely divided the first, the invocation mantra 1 to 3, mantra 4 to 5, and mantra 6. And there is a down we have given the small descriptions. Okay, the invocation is the foundation of knowledge of the Supreme Person. Then mantra 1 to 8, we are talking about the practices, the knowledge of the Supreme Person. Let's move to the next, the major category of which is the guidelines of knowledge and practices. So the knowledge is to be sought and the practices are to be followed. So here mantra 9 to 14, that it is elaborating all the practices and knowledge should be performed by the one of the devotees. And the last one, but not the least, the prayers. Now till invocation to mantra 14, where the Sri Lord itself, they talks all the methods, practices to be followed. Here from 15 to 18 is the devotee's turn. Devotees is praying now to the Lord. So it is the offered by the devotee to the Lord, the prayers. So prayers for the knowledge and prayers for the practice. So I'm trying to explain today mantra 17, which talks about the prayers for the practices. So as it is mentioned, the prayer for Lord to remember our services to him. So the devotee who has been serving and practicing the best practices our scriptures have mentioned. Now one who is near to the death, how he is praying to the Lord. It's just like our examples will the whole year we'll practice it, right? But the 3 hours is very important when we'll go and write it. So definitely we'll pray and we will we do the sastang to our parents, we'll do the namaste. Please, my mind should go and work probably for 3 hours, so I can perform whatever I did for the whole year. The same thing here, the mantra 17 is telling. Let me please recite it. Vayur anilam amritam athadeham bhasmantam sariram om krato smara krata smara krato smara krata smara. The translations by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ji ki jai ho. Let this temporary body be burned to the ashes. Sorry, before translations, I would like to go each word wise the synonyms. The Vayur, it is denoting here is a Vayu or air. The what we call is a Pran Vayu. And Anilam is also is a synonym, is a Sanskrit, but it is called a reservoir of the air, the life of air. Amritam is kind of a nectar, and here we can elaborate. Amritam is like a undestructible soul. Athadeham means itaha and deham means at this moment, right now. Bhasmantam is, we know the Bhasma, and today is very auspicious day of our Shivji. We know about that. So Bhasmantam is the ashes when the body is burnt to the ashes, and Sariram is the body, our material body. Om denotes the Supreme Lord, and Krato also mentioned in a lot of verses is also who's the ultimate, who takes all the benefits, whatever the sacrifice we do, he's the ultimate enjoyer. Samraya means here remembering, please remember. And Kratam, whatever has been done by the devotees. Smara again is a Smran, Krato, Smara. So if you noticed, and Prabhuji also, when they are giving this lecture, they clearly mention why this is 2 times. If you see there, Sanskrit itself, it is 1 time is enough if you talk in the Sanskrit, but here see the intensify of the request from the devotee to the Lord. He is telling 2 times. Please God remember whatever the sevas or the services or practices I have done. Please don't forget at the last moment. That's why they're given the very example, good example, SOS call. We won't say only help 1 time and we'll stop and we'll wait. No, we'll continuously do it until we'll get that help from the other side. Let's now move to the translations. So let this temporary body be burned to the ashes, and let the air of life be merged with the totality of air. Now, O my Lord, please remember all my sacrifices, and because you are the ultimate beneficiary, please remember all that I have done for you. So that was the translation of mantra 17, and I have tried to extract some notes from Prabhuji's lectures and from the online. What is the main aspects we can extract from this mantra? So the very first thing, if you see the, if you go to the Veda base, the purport, it's very long, detailed, multiple, I think around 15 or 16 paras are there. So if you divide this one, the very first 3 paras, that talks about the temporary material body is certainly a foreign dress that must be given up. So there's a nice concept, but it is really not easy to digest, that the material body is a formless. We think this living entity, the Jivatma, is the formless. No, but the material, this material body is the formless. That one should understand, because according to the particular Jivatma senses, if he'll take a birth, he will take those forms. Going down the slides, I will explain you. There is a good examples that given how the senses impact our next birth is the ages we are going through. So now let's move to the next paragraph, which talks about the best way to give up the body. So there is the ways we can give the body, right? Consciously, unconsciously. So they're telling here on the paragraph 4 to 5, the best way to give up the body is the surrendering to the Supreme Lord, not giving the Brahma Jyoti. The Brahma Jyoti is also very, honestly, I couldn't understand where I was going through, but it's a big concept altogether. There are a different type of circles, and top of the circles that's called the head, that Brahma Randra is the topmost circle, who very few sages will go in that level. And from that level, if the Jyotis or the Vayus, they control the inner Vayu or Pran Vayus, it will go and meet to the Brahma Vayus. So they are not talking about here that we should go and get this elevations. No, they are telling simply we should remember to the Lord in very simple manner, and it is the bhakti, the pure bhakti. And the para 6 and 7, that talks about the importance of the last thought. So it's very important, and we have a very nice example, renowned example, the last thought, how it impacts. Though a particular person or Jivatma did a lot of good works in the spiritual side, but at the last moment, what is the thought comes in your mind, how it impacts, we will going to see that one. And then the 8 and 9. So there are the questions that obviously arise, that why should we ask or talk to Krishna that please remember me? Isn't he'll remember our services so long we did? So here they're telling no, Krishna never forgets our service to him, whatever we did. And the next paras will talk about the Krishna's mercy ever available through the devotional services. So if we are involved in the devotional services, we should not concern about the outcomes or the phala. And there are a lot of verses, elaborates about these verses, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gitas. There are a lot of good Vedas and scriptures we have where it elaborates nicely. And at the last, the 13th and 15th, talks about the prepare for the death devotional practices. So what are the best practices, or what are the best characteristics we are going to see? There's a 9 devotional activities a person should perform to elevate. So there is another good analogy Prabhuji was giving the next day. There is an attitude towards the body, right? The Karma Kanda, Upanishads and Vedic scriptures. And if you see on your left side, we have the bhakti is elevating, how the bhakti starts and how it elevates. So if the Karma Kanda is mostly the misuse of our body, so it's the romanticizing our body for the sense gratifications. And the Upanishads are in between, which is we talks about the rejection of the body. And the topmost is the Vedic scriptures, they utilize the body, how best a person should utilize his body. So Upanishads are transition texts from materialism to the spirituality, leading to the bhakti. So as we were talking on the previous slides, this is the slide I would like to share with you guys. And we have in this Bhagavad Gita nicely that's how this endless loop in the material world, material nature displays wonderful worship by the creating varieties of bodies from the living beings according to the propensity for sense gratifications. How much propensity for the particular senses a person have, the next birth he will definitely get that one. And so living entities desire for the self gratification. So there are some examples given, only few of, but there were a number of examples which go endless loop of ages. So if someone, you see that if someone like to sleep a lot, maybe he will become the next birth he will become a bear. He likes eat fleshes or meat, he'll become a tiger. And someone who want to sow his body, maybe he will become a tree, Nagna, next year, everyone can see. and who wants, there is now a lot of other examples. I don't want to go more in this, but the main point is here, how important the senses should be in control. Otherwise, what will be the consequences we can see on these examples. Yeah, and this is the another example, as I told you, that the mantra verifies that fact that living entities exist after the inhalations of the material body. So I gave the example that the formless and that see that the how beautifully the living entity, the jivatma, goes across the phases of that our bodies, how the bodies changes. Is the Bhagavad Gita 2.20 talks about the for the soul there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. This is the example I was talking about, the last moment, what is the thought, and we all knows about the story of the Sri Maharaj Jad Bharat. When they are Maharaj Bharat, at the last moment, they thought about the deer, and the next birth they got a deer. Then they understand because of their lot of births, they have a cumulatively, they acquire this bhakti. So next to next, they become a Jad Bharat and they got the salvations. But this is the right example, what the last thought should be on the deathbed. And now we'll come to the final phase where we are talking about, okay, we talk about this, okay, how we should be, bhakti should be, or what should be the prayers at the last moment. These are the 9 transcendental activities that should be, we call the devotional services. The very first one is hearing about the Lord. And on the right side, I was given the one examples of Maharaj Parikshit, the hero of the Srimad Bhagavatam, attained their desired results. The glorifying the Lord, Sukadev Goswami ji, who was chanting this Srimad Bhagavatam to the Maharaj Parikshit. Remembering the Lord, Akrur ji, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, Prahlad Maharaj. Worshipping the Lord, Prathu Maharaj ji, example. Offering prayer of the Lord, Lakshmi Mataji. Serving the Lord, Hanumanji, the best example ever. And enjoying friendly association with the Lord, Arjunji. And surrendering everything onto the Lord, Maharaj Bali. So these are the 9 principles of the devotional services, taken all together or one by one, help a devotee remain constantly in the touch with God. And this was the very nice picture of Maharaj Parikshit and Sukdev ji Goswami ji, when Parikshit ji asked, what is the duty of every man, especially at the time of death? And Goswami ji very nicely answered that everyone who desire to be free from all anxieties should always hear about, glorify, and remembering the personality of Godhead, who is the supreme director of everything, the existing and extinguisher of all difficulties, and the supreme soul of all living entities. So we came to the end, and the conclusions which I would like to conclude this mantra 17. So we can pray to the Lord to reveal to us the knowledge of the scriptures, and to accept our service to that we may one day obtain a pure vision of our relationship with him, with the Lord. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Any comments or questions?
Hare Krishna. I have a question.
Ji Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. A great presentation. I just have a simple question. In one of the slides, you showed that, I learned that that if I sleep too much in the next life, I will be born as a bear. And immediately on the next slide, there is another slide that says that that King Bharat, he thought about a deer in the last minute, and he was born as a deer in the next life. So which one is like more powerful, like what we do throughout the life or what we think at the last moment of the life, that decides how we are born? We are born in the next life. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. It's really nice questions. And if you notice, there's a relation between both, right? If you see that there's a succession, it's like that. If something I will never practice in my whole life, definitely the thoughts will not come in the last moment. So the point is here, definitely this senses, it will impact our jivatma, it will go community for the next. So, but the point is, at the last moment, if your thoughts are so intensified towards God or towards the material matters, that's they are talking about. So in this example, when Bharatji, instead of thinking for the Lord Sri Hari at the last moment, he thought about the deer. So God is so merciful and so helpful. So he gave him one more birth. Okay, you go and serve for that, what you wanted at the last moment. I hope I answer you. Otherwise, I will redirect you to the Prabhuji.
Yes, I understood. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you.
Probably it was because Bharat was, no doubt, he was very much devoted. He was a very good devotee of the Lord. But in the last phase of life, his detachment became attached to the particular deer, and that's why he couldn't, at the time of the death, he couldn't think of the Krishna. Rather, he thought about the deer, and so he get the life.
Yes, Prasad.
Prabhuji, I'd like to quote you. Prabhuji gives an example of if we have never played cricket in our lifetime, but on the last ball of the match, we are expected to hit a sixer. How is that possible? Right. So that's to your point, practice needed.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah, that is a good example. You want to say something?
Just a comment, Prabhu.
Thank you. Very hard work done by you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Excellent presentation, both orally and visual presentation, especially the pictures as well as the quotes. I really like one quote where you mentioned spiritual knowledge is beyond our reach. That is the reason Vedas are there to teach.
Yeah. All copy paste. Yeah, thank you.
I don't know if this is a relevant question, but just came into my mind as I'm asking. So if someone doesn't get time to think, just die suddenly. So it doesn't, they just don't think anything by way. And then some people just don't get time to think. Do they their next birth depends on their previous birth?
Very good question, but Mataji, really I don't know, so I will not want to give. I will request Prabhuji to give. I never thought that kind of questions can come up. So thank you.
Short answer is that this thinking is not like how we think. Oh, I'm getting late. Which route to take, how to do reroute and all that, which button to press. This thinking is at the level of the soul. So even if you are unconscious, and there is nothing called sudden death, body may seem, even if there's a car crash, even if anything, there is a moment where the soul is able to connect with what it is most attached to. So, but again, at a certain level, I don't know if there's an atomic explosion and then everything just disappears in a flash. I don't know the answer to that. But if you are in any other kind of immediate death, there is always the soul that experiences.
Soul is already prepared.
Okay. experiences that depth, that detachment, not detachment as a detachment, our attachments and detachments, but the process of getting detached from the body.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Oh my.
Questions, Prabhu? Just a comment. Yeah. Yes. You may say you were nervous, but you were prepared the presentation very nicely. So
Thank you.
good job.
Thank you, Prabhuji. That's why I told you I took a support of presentations.
Which is perfect. I mean, as Prabhuji said, very lot of nice pictures and nice quotes. So we cannot remember. I mean, it's same thing with me. I cannot remember every verse and every quote. So the preparation says it all. Like all the things will be listed.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
This little boy has a question.
Go ahead.
Yes,
Say.
in the slide when you show like if you like a sleep you become a bear, if you like need to become a bear. In that slide, can you go to the slide? I don't understand the second one. If you're eating, how do you become a pig? Because a pig doesn't eat that much.
No, the point is here, they are trying to say that what pig eats, the dirty things, right? We should not eat as a human being. If the people eat those kind of things, maybe in the next birth they will become hog. But same a pig.
I'm just gonna add that even though you had the slides and those things, but what you said was more like engaging and that was more enriching. So a lot of conviction in you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Very nice.
Very nice, Prabhuji.
We are going to go a little bit ahead of, or ahead means extra time. So a lot of nice questions and appreciation from you all is coming to the devotees. So they are taking some extra time. I hope you are finding it enjoyable. We can cut down the next presentation by a lot. I can make a very short presentation in Lord Shiva. This is also part of it. We'll keep that very short, but we'll give most of the time to the students. So, this is it, right?
Yes.
And okay. See your face. See on that.
Hare Krishna devotees. First of all, I would like to offer my respectful obeisances to all the Acharyas, Srila Prabhupada, and to all the senior devotees, and to our beloved instructor Prabhuji and Mataji. Thank you so much. Seeking all your blessings also, devotees. Thank you. So today I got the opportunity to present Īśopaniṣad mantra 18. This mantra is also basically a continuation of the prayer section, what Prabhuji has already described in the mantra 17. In this, so first I would like to recite the mantra in the translation. Agninaya supataraye asman vishvani deva vayunani vidvan yuyudhi asmaj juhuranam eno bhuistam te nama uktim videma. Translation. O my Lord, as powerful as fire, O omnipotent one, now I offer you all obeisances, falling on the ground at your feet. O my Lord, please lead me on the right path to reach you. And since you know all that I have done in the past, please free me from the reactions to my past sins so that there will be no hindrance to my progress. Basically, this translation or this verse is talking about 3 sections. So this prayer has all the 3 important aspects of the prayer. The 3 important aspects of the prayer are seeking the help of the, first glorifying the Lord. And we have seen in the first sentence of the translation, the devotee is glorifying the Lord as the powerful fire, omnipotent. And the second part is seeking the help of the Lord. So if we look at the last section, he's seeking the help of the Lord and asking, pleading his mercy to direct him in the right path to reach him. And also he's asking help to wipe away all his reactions or to free him from the reactions of his past sins. So that is the second part of the prayer. And the third part of the prayer is surrendering to the Lord. So he is offering prayers saying that he is falling on the ground and offering the obeisances. So basically surrendering to the Lord. So the prayer is, Prabhuji mentioned in his lecture, is one of the 9 processes of the bhakti or 9 aspects of the bhakti, Vandanam. So in this prayer, we have seen all these 3 important aspects. And also in the purport, Prabhupada has explained again 3 different aspects in this prayers. So the first thing is reason for the hindrances in the spiritual path. So if you look at the translation in the last sentence, so he's asking, the devotee is asking to free him from the reactions of his past sins, because they are the hindrance to the progress. So what are those past sins? What are they called? They are called as vikarma. So in mantra 2, we have discussed about 3 different karmas: akarma, karma, and vikarma. So akarma is the one which doesn't has any reaction, either positive or negative. Whereas karma is doing our duties according to the prescribed regulations and scriptures. So which results in positive reactions, which still binds us to this material cycle of birth and death. Whereas vikarma, it's like doing abominable things and doing acts that are unprescribed in the Vedas. So because of just sense gratification, people just do the activities that fall under vikarma. So this vikarma causes sinful reactions, and these sinful reactions will be the hindrance to our spiritual progress. So if you look at the whole structure of the Īśopaniṣad, what Prabhuji has shown in his presentation, first the first section is like accepting Ishvara as the supreme controller and his opulences and his inconceivable feature and all that. And the next section is knowing, looking everything with the spiritual vision and the equality. And the main other section is what is real vidya and what is avidya, and how to balance between them to reach our destination. And the next one is the difference between the right upasana and wrong upasana. So I was wondering why Lord suddenly is talking about the prayers. So this is also Lord's mercy. So he himself is saying that how to pray him, because we are so fallen and so conditional that we do not even know how to pray him, even though we know his supremacy and know everything and we want to do spiritual progress, but still we cannot do that because of our hindrances or anarthas that we have. So God himself is saying the way how to pray. So these anarthas affect a devotee in his spiritual progress in 2 ways. One is at external level and the other is at psychological level or internal level. So external level, I just want to mention things like external disturbances like feeling sick or losing job, which causes our disturbance, and we cannot focus on our spiritual life. So things like that, which relates to our body and surrounding our body. Whereas psychological level are like internal hindrances. Example, like our own greed, lust, anger, everything, all of these negative things. So which affects us mentally, and they will stop our progress. So the devotee is asking the Lord to burn his sinful reactions as a fire. So he referred Bhagavan as fire here because fire's nature is to burn whatever it get contacted with. So he is asking the Lord to burn away his fires. So when coming to the second one that I want to mention here is, so when we get these hindrances or hiccups in our spiritual progress, so what we should do? So it's not, I mean, everybody has, we all have at some level of spiritual progress, at least because we started attending these classes and with interest to get some knowledge and start practicing them and applying them in our life. But are we able to do that like how we want to do? No, at least I'm unable to do because we have some of the other obstacles coming up. But what to do when we have these kind of obstacles? So I have heard a lecture by Chaitanya Charan Prabhuji about destiny and free will. So the hindrances comes because of our past acts that we have seen. But what to do when they come? So should we just follow our destiny and do the things accordingly, or should we take a step back and use our little independence that is given by Bhagavan to us and take the right decision? So in Bhagavad Gita 18.63, Bhagavan says that Yathechasi tata kuru. So which means, I have given you all the knowledge that you need to know, but it's your opinion or your wish on how to act. So Bhagavan never interferes with our own free will. We think that we have free will and freedom, but it is anyway again bounded with the three modes of material nature. So as we have this free will, so though we get our disturbance or anything like that, so we have to take proper decision at that time and start progressing in the spiritual journey. The next section is about achieving perfection. So this is the spiritual journey is not just like one go. So it needs a lot of time and effort, and it needs a lot of practice to reach to the final destination. So first of all, what is perfection? Why we have to achieve that? So knowing all the scriptures and self-realization, like who are we? What is our duty here? Why are we here? So that process is like Brahma Jignasa, like knowing like why we are here, what we need to do. So this kind of self-realization, Prabhupada explains the self-realization as knowing that we are not this body, but we are the spirit soul, and knowing that the spirit soul responsibility is to be servant of the Supreme Lord. So these kind of things and knowledge can be attained only in the human form of life. So we know that we have Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita explains that there are 8.4 million species of lives in this world. But out of all this, human form of life is the only one which can gives this process of self-realization. And when we look at humans, so we have a lot of humans in this world. Like this, we have number of universes, and each universe has again the 8th planet, and we have a lot of human species there. But does everybody get this self-realization? No, every human cannot get it. So for that, they need qualification. They have to develop this Brahminical culture. Like the Brahminical culture, the qualities of Brahminical culture is like sense control, truthfulness, faith in the God, faith in the scriptures, faith in the Guru, and doing sadhana. So all these things one has to develop as being a human so that they can achieve the perfection. I just want to add one more point here. Just being born as a Brahmana in a Brahmana family doesn't give any qualification for us to achieve this perfection. So we have to develop the Brahmanical qualities. So to help improving or to help attaining these qualities, there are regulative principles and there are other yoga. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord explains 3 different types of yogas, mainly like Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Karma Yoga. But all of out of these things, like Bhakti Yoga is devotional service, which is the topmost. We'll come to that one. The other 2 things, Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. Karma Yoga is like basically doing the prescribing duties and abiding to the regulative principles and attaining pious credits and slowly doing the progress in the spiritual path. But that is a very gradual process. Similarly to the Jnana Yoga, after attaining the pious credits, so they get the knowledge, the transcendental knowledge, and they contemplate on the knowledge. So, but both of these processes are gradual process. Whereas Bhakti Yoga, so if devotee surrenders from the very beginning, as recommended in this mantra, he surpasses all these preliminary stages simply by adopting to this devotional attitude or devotional service. This is the quicker way. So that is what Bhagavan is saying. So that is why in this verse, devotee is praying by surrendering to the Lord and asking for his causeless mercy so that he can quickly get progress to the path of complete self-realization. So while we are doing this devotional service, as I mentioned, this is not just a one-day activity or one-time activity, right? So it should be a continuous, unflinching and undeviated process. So we should never leave this rope of the devotional service. I really like the example that I heard in the lecture about the rope of the devotional service. So he compares this whole material world as a dark well. So we think that this is very good. My world is very good until and unless we see the outside world. But when we see the outside world and when we want to reach there, we cannot reach there because we are very much deeper into this dark well of the material thing. So at that time, the only thing and the only person who can help is Bhagavan with this rope. So we need to get hold of the rope tightly and come to the top of the well and come out of the well. So during this process, at whatever stage, even though we are at the end of the top of the well, if we leave the devotional service, we just fall back with the same force to the end of the well. So there is no use. So once we catch hold of this devotional service, we need to keep progressing it and come and get hold of it until we really come out of this whole dark well. And this third section is talking about how Lord guides a devotee. So we have seen that devotee is asking for Bhagavan's help and he surrendered to him. And when he surrenders, how Lord helps him. Basically, how we know that Lord is listening to our prayers and helping is the way he reciprocates with the devotee, as Mataji mentioned. So we feel more happy and we feel more satisfied, and we have all these qualities getting developed to say that we are in the right path. So these are the main things God God will do for a devotee when a devotee really surrenders to the Lord. Surrender means not just knowing that, okay, I'm not this body, I'm the soul, and Bhagavan is great. Okay, I will accept that. Doing that is not enough. We should be grateful and we should be gratitude to the Bhagavan, and we need to offer our respects and prayers, and we need to serve him as much as we can according to our capacity. So Bhagavan guides the devotee by purifying him, like removing all his sins and purifying him internally. So we have Bhagavad Gita explains the lot of devotional qualities and divine qualities. So he will be the devotees anarthas or the demoniac qualities will be getting lesser impact, and he will get purified and move to the next stage more. And also Bhagavan inspires the devotee. So if a devotee wants to do some service, so he inspires him to do more and more. He reciprocates with him. Also, he rectifies the devotee's faults. So even though devotee is doing the devotional service, but in between, if he is doing any kinds of vikarma, so he rectifies him by giving his, by helping him from the internal heart as a Paramatma. And caring. So what to talk about caring? So he is our Supreme Father and he cares like no one cares for us. He is being with each jiva as Paramatma. He is being accommodated with each jiva as Paramatma, life after the other, life after the other, and he keeps waiting for the jiva to turn back to him. So once the jiva started turning back to him, so he moves very faster and he takes a lot of steps ahead of the devotee to reach him. So he is more interested in taking us back to his home. And the last thing is by enlightening the devotee. So he enlightens the devotee by giving proper knowledge. So what is the right way to act and what is not the right way? So he enlightens him with the knowledge, and he also gives the proper knowledge by internally and externally. So externally with the sadhu, shastra, and guru. So by providing the association of the sadhus and shastras, like what we have this topmost Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, all these shastras, and also the guru. So in the form of guru. So that is how he helps each jiva externally. Whereas internally as a Paramatma, he accompanies everyone always, and he sanctions like Upadrashta Anumanta. So he sanctions the jiva's desires. So this is how the Lord guides a devotee. There is this Srimad Bhagavatam verse 1 to 17 to 20 that explains this entire process that is mentioned in this mantra in this similar way. Like first, this verse talks about first, we need to start with hearing and chanting Krishna's glories. So why he is saying is not for his benefit, not for the Lord's benefit, it is for our own benefit. So by hearing and chanting his glories, we'll get purified and cleanses all undesirable things, all the material desires. And after that, our devotion becomes fixed, because we know that all these material things are just temporary and they are not giving me any happiness. They are causing distress. We'll be just happy today if we get something, but tomorrow we'll say, oh, I don't have that other thing. Yesterday, whatever I liked, today I will not like. So it's all like temporary process. So when we take this devotional process, so we'll get rid of all these temporary things and we'll get fixed in the devotion. Slowly these modes, the effect of the modes of passion and ignorance, they will be reduced and the mode of goodness will be increased. And mode of goodness also, Bhagavan explains that even we have to cross beyond the mode of goodness to the Shuddha Bhakti. And as we have seen, so he enlightens the devotee by the virtue of bhakti, and then the devotee knows the way to attain the Lord, and all his doubts diminish, and he becomes a pure devotee or Shuddha Bhakta by fully surrendering to the Lord. So the main key here is we need to pray to the Bhagavan because we don't have any other way. He is ultimate shelter. So we need to pray him to take out our anarthas and help us to surrender him in a better way and seek his help. So let us all pray for his mercy and surrender to him in whatever best way it is possible. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Sorry if please forgive me if I make any mistakes. Please correct me, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Any comments or questions for Mataji?
Another excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Excellent presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.
I have a comment, Prabhu. So go to the same previous slide. So usually in this material world, we have a price tag for everything, right? So though it's in a different order, like I like the price. So purifying, rectifying, inspiring, caring, and enlightening.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we can reorder it in that way. Yeah.
An example.
So I just want to give a brief overview because this is the last verse of the Īśopaniṣad. So Prabhuji has already given in his slides and mentioned about that. So that's why I didn't cover this again. So this is the just an overall overview of the Īśopaniṣad, whole Īśopaniṣad.
Any other comments or questions?
Very nice. It's very soft, very nice delivery.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for tolerating me. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Your humble mood and your speaking from the heart was showing very nicely.
Thank you. Thank you so much for
Very nice,
your
Mataji.
instruction.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji.
It was very nice, Mataji.
Okay. So thanks to all the devotees, Sarvashakti Mataji and Ashish Prabhu and Kalyani Mataji for making very nice presentations on Śrī Īśopaniṣad. So let me go ahead and close. Okay. So another thing for today, last thing, is a very, very short glorification of Lord Shiva. Today is Shivratri, and there are many devotees here who are very sincere bhaktas or devotees of Lord Shiva. So it wouldn't make sense to not glorify Lord Shiva, not just because you're present, because of some reasons that you will see very quickly. Maybe just 10 minutes I will take to glorify Lord Shiva. There is a lot that we receive from Lord Shiva. In fact, everything that we receive is from Lord Shiva. So now you will think that we say all the time, we receive everything from Lord Krishna. Now today is Shivratri, so it's like, everything has been replaced. Lord Krishna has been replaced by Lord Shiva today. Then tomorrow on Janmashtami, we will go back to Krishna, and depending on the day, the speech changes. So, no, that's okay. So that is not the case. Okay. So I will show very quickly and hopefully in a.
Please feel free. You don't need to make it short.
Okay. I still want to respect the time and so let's see. There's not much to share, or I'll keep it appropriate. So let me share the where is Zoom? Share screen. Okay. So glories of Lord Shiva. So first of all, Lord Shiva is Shiva Tattva. Tattva, when we say, means the essence, the core understanding. Okay. So there are so many tattvas. Jiva Tattva. Who is the Jiva? Who are we? Or Bhagavat Tattva. Who is Bhagavan? But one of the, or these are considered to be the four most complex tattvas to understand. Because why complex? Not because they have inherent complexity, but because there is supreme opportunity or possibility to misunderstand them. So there is a lot of misunderstanding. So for example, Dham. I have heard from many devotees, first time I went to Vrindavan, it was dirty, there were pigs and dogs, and the rickshawala was haggling for 5 rupees, and this and that, and my shoes got stolen, and all those things they will see as if it is just like going to some Chikmagalur or any other village, and Vrindavan is just another version of Chikmagalur. Or I'm just taking that name because I hope nobody's, it's just a funny name of some village. So there is no difference between I will take the name of place where I was brought up, Lucknow, and Vrindavan. So that is not the case. So we can go deeper at a different day. Similarly, Guru Tattva, Srimati Radharani, I will, same thing, like an ordinary person, ordinary lady, or Guru, ordinary person, he also feels hungry, or I told him something, he forgot. So what is the difference? I also forget, he also forgets. I feel hungry, he felt hungry. Sometime he may get angry. Oh, in Bhagavad Gita, it is written, you should never get angry. He got angry. He's an ordinary person. Lot of opportunity to misunderstand, right? But that is not the case. And that means the problem is in our understanding, right? We do not understand them. It is not, and that is why the tattva is complex. And similarly, Shiva tattva is very complex. And who is Lord Shiva? Is he superior to Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu? Inferior, equal? How much better? 10% better or 90% or below? All these questions just completely, So I must say I do not have a full understanding either. I will present whatever I have learned from devotees, from reading a few scriptures and so on. I will just share what I have learned, but it is hopefully useful for everyone. So one very important verse from Brahma Samhita. Now, those who have been attending temple programs or the classes many times, they will understand the significance of Brahma Samhita. Very, very, very important prayers. And many, many tattvas are described in that. One of the very important tattvas that is described is that of Lord Shiva. So very nice verse. I will try to sing it in the proper meter. Kshiram yatha dadhi vikara vishesha yogat sanjayate nahi tatah prithag asti heto yah shambhutam api tatha sumapaiti karyad govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. So you can see here two words, kshira and dahi. Dadhi, we say dahi, right? So dahi is like a, everybody understands dahi, right? So kshira is, we say kshira sagar, means ocean of milk, where Lord Narayana is, taking rest. So kshira means milk and dahi means yogurt. So what it means is, just as milk is transformed into yogurt or curd by, what happened? Just as milk is transformed into curd by action of acids, but yet the effect, curd, is neither the same as nor different from its cause, milk. So I adore primeval Lord Govinda, of whom the state of Shambhu is a transformation for the performance of work of destruction. So what this means is that just like milk can be transformed into yogurt, right? So yogurt is milk. What would you say? How many of you say yogurt is milk? Some of you are some form of milk. How many of you say yogurt is not milk? Some others. So both of you are right. So this is the complexity of understanding the tattva of Lord Shiva. Yogurt is different from milk, and that's the blue box that I have. And it is not different from milk either at the same time. So Lord Shiva is no different from Lord Krishna, but yet there is some difference. Okay. So there are various different understandings from the various Puranas, various scriptures. Now we rely our understanding mainly on Bhagavad Purana. And we will quickly see some aspects of Lord Shiva from our main Purana, which is Bhagavad Purana. But this is very complex topic, and so we should we should try to understand it very carefully. So the main point is Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu, or when I say Vishnu, includes Lord Narayan, Lord Ram, everyone. Basically, they are one and the same, with some minor differences. Always think of yogurt and milk. Essentially one and the same. From the nutrition standpoint, doctor says, oh, you don't like drinking milk? Take yogurt. You will get the same proteins, isn't it? I never liked milk, but I still like yogurt. Doctor says, if you want whatever proteins are available, well, no problem. Yogurt you like? Yeah, done. No need to drink milk. I was like, wonderful. Great. So in the same way, but it is different as well. So there is a Harihara Kshetra in Navadvip, Mayapur, and Lord Chaitanya, this is completely bona fide in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. And there is a deity of Lord, unified deity of Hari Hara. Hari means Lord Krishna, Hara means Lord Shiva. So you can see here half. So they are one and the same. There is no difference between Hari and Hara. And the name is Harihara Kshetra. Some other aspects. Okay. So the main point I want to just convey in these next few slides is that Lord Shiva assists Lord Vishnu, or Lord Vishnu transforms himself into Lord Shiva, just like milk gets transformed into yogurt for a specific purpose. People like me who don't want to drink milk. So milk says, okay, I will transform myself into yogurt so that this fool can, at least get some proteins. So in the same way, Lord Krishna transforms into Lord Shiva for a certain purpose. Now in the Brahma Samhita verse, we saw for the purpose of destruction. Yes, that is a very primary purpose, but that's not the only purpose. So very many people say Lord Shiva is the destroyer. Looks like a villain. I spent all this time and energy to construct something, and he comes and just destroys. So he's like a, villain who just knows how to destroy. So that is also another misconception. Why is there a destroyer? So no, he's not the destroyer. So first of all, everything that gets created needs to be destroyed so that new creation can occur. So he's in charge of destruction, but he's also plays a very important role in creation and maintenance as well. Our acharyas in the Bhagavad Gita, there is this verse, Mama Yonir Mahad Brahma Tasmin Garbham Dadamyaham. So, and then there is another one, Aham Bija Pradah Pita. So Lord Krishna says, I am the origin of everything. Everything comes from me. Now, in the deeper understanding, the Lord doesn't do it himself. Yes, he is the source, but he transforms into Lord Shiva. And as Lord Shiva, he does those things. So yes, Lord Krishna only is doing it, but through Lord Shiva. So we don't go into this topic a lot when we read Bhagavad Gita or discuss Bhagavad Gita. We skip that middle link, but that middle link of Lord Shiva exists. It does not mean that because we don't discuss, it doesn't exist. So Lord Shiva is playing a very important role in the creation as Lord Shambhu. I will just explain that. There are all these different names that we see, Sadashiva, Shambhu, Shiva, Rudra. These names have a specific, they're not just names like Chintu, Pintu, Mintu means the same person. It's not like that. These names have a specific, these are like technical terms. So Lord Sadashiv is the name of that spiritual person who is residing in the spiritual world. So he is the original Lord Shiva. So in that form, he's different from Lord Vishnu. He has his own Kailash Dham, or what is known as Mahesh Dham in the spiritual world. Like there are many Vaikuntha Dhams, there is Ayodhya Dham, Mathura Dham, Golok, Vrindavan Dham. Similarly, there is Mahesh Dham or Kailash Dham, where Lord Sadashiv is residing. Then he enters that, just like Lord Vishnu enters as Mahavishnu, similarly, that Sadashiva enters into the material world as Lord Shambhu. I will not go into a lot of details. Then he enters into every universe as Lord Shiva. And then at the time of destruction, Lord Shiva in that particular universe expands into 11 Rudras to cause the destruction, to enable or to be in charge of the activity of destruction. Okay, so that is the sort of the understanding. There is difference. So when we say we are worshipping Lord Shiva, you're worshipping the expansion of Lord Shambhu, who is an expansion or the Lord Sadashiv, who entered the material world in your particular universe. Lord Rudra has not actually appeared right now because we are still, happily in this universe. The destruction has not yet happened. So that is Lord Shiva. So I think I can end here. How the Lord assists in maintenance. In creation, he assists. In maintenance, he assists as the presiding deity for the Pancha Mahabhuta, the 5 great elements. What are the 5 great elements? Bhumir, Apa, Anala, Vayu, and Kha, which means earth, water, fire, air, and ether, as Shivalingams. There are various types of Shivalingams. There is the Prithvi Lingam, there is the Jambu Lingam, there is Jyotir Lingam, which is fire, Vayu Lingam, and Akasha Lingam. So as these Shivalingas, he is the presiding deity for the 5 great elements of which this material world is made. So Lord Krishna, yes, he says that Bhinna Prakritir Ashtadha, that these are my energies, but they are glorified. Their power is manifested or is being shown as in SHONE, or is being glorified through Lord Shiva. So Lord Krishna is deputing Lord Shiva to carry out his task of maintaining the material world. So what is the purpose of Lord Shiva is the greatest devotee of Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna. All the time he is simply busy, not only him, his whole family. So he's also showing us the life of an ideal householder. Okay, so the whole family is absorbed in singing the names of Lord Rama, especially Lord Rama. Always he is chanting the name of Lord Rama. So first example is that he has a very, very devoted wife. The job of a husband is to give a good house, first of all, to a wife. He has not done that. He, lives on a mountaintop or in a graveyard or a crematorium. Still the wife, Mother Parvati, does not complain. Okay, she is very, very satisfied with whatever she gets from her husband, and what she gets from her husband is Ramanam. That is what she gets. So that is the best shelter, not this artificial shelter which our husband can give, but he gives the real shelter, which is Ramanam, and that is why she is happy. He is always busy in glorifying Lord Rama and Lord Govinda, and she is dancing. And his 2 sons, Lord Ganesha and Kartikeya, are playing Mridanga and Kartal. So the whole family is engaged in the bhakti of Lord Ram. Now there are some people who come to Lord Shiva, like Ravana, great devotee of Lord Shiva. Or there is another one, Bhasmasur. He also comes to Lord Shiva. There are people who come and disturb Lord Shiva for material things. Now Lord Shiva is known as Bholenath. But Bholenath is not because he is Bhola Bhala and gets fooled. Oh, that he cannot know that this Ravan is a bad guy and if I give him his wish, he will actually go and cause trouble. But his mood, the mood of Lord Shiva is, why are you disturbing me in my Ram Nam Jap? Okay, what do you want? Oh, you want this? Go, take, go. Don't disturb me. That is his mood. So he gives, but he gives out of annoyance, or to get rid of such people who only come asking for material benefits. There are so many other great devotees. So there are two types of kripa: Sa kapat and Nish kapat. Sa kapat means he cheats. Chalo, take it and go. And this, whatever you are getting, you will, that same thing will cause your destruction. But Nish kapat means what he gives is devotion for Lord Krishna or Lord Govinda. So there are so many. So there is examples, so many examples in Srimad Bhagavatam itself. The gopis prayed to Lord Shiva. Nanda Maharaj prayed to Lord Shiva. So many others, devotees prayed to Lord Shiva. What did they pray? Not for like Ravana or Bhasmasur, but for the devotion or bhakti of, they prayed for Lord Krishna. And Lord Shiva loves such devotees. So they can be devotees of Lord Shiva, no problem, as long as their mentality is Krishna conscious. So Lord Shiva loves Krishna's devotees more than his own devotees. So that is the mood of Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva is most pleased by devotees who glorify Lord Govinda. So the best thing that we can do is to glorify Lord Govinda, and that will make us the best Shiva Bhaktas. So, we should, the best thing to do on Shivratri or any day, and if we want to make Lord Shiva happy, is to glorify Lord Govinda. So that is the end. Okay. Okay.
Thank you,
Sure.
Prabhuji. Thank you.
Which one? The Brahma Samhita verse? Okay, yes. This table? Okay, yes.
So for Lord Shambhu, it is given like appears via the eyesight of Lord Mahavishnu. So
I
does
have.
that mean Shambhu is appearing from Mahavishnu or from the Sadashiva?
No, Sadashiva is appearing through the. So I don't know, Mataji, first of all. The way I understand it, Sadashiva is appearing in the material world. First, Mahavishnu appears. Okay. Or Mahavishnu is basically the substance or the support for the material world. Through his eyesight, the Sadashiva takes appearance in the material world. So the eyesight, you can think of it as a gateway, or the passage, the medium through which Sadashiva appears as Shambhu. Okay, it doesn't mean that Lord Shambhu is an incarnation of Mahavishnu. He's appearing through the eyesight of Mahavishnu. Who is appearing? Sadashiva.
Yeah, that was my question.
So Sadashiva is appearing as Shambhu through the eyesight of Mahavishnu. That is my understanding. I may be wrong. Please forgive me. But this is my little limited understanding.
This is very clear. Thank you so much.
Okay, so we shall stop here. We have run way over time, so I apologize. I will take any further comments or questions offline. What's next? Online, we are done. Next week we do have class, right? So there are few more presentations left to go by Ramakant Prabhu and Shri Amlila Mataji, and then after that we will and then very soon we will be starting with our next series, which will be on Upadeshamritam or Nectar of Instruction. So thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shivratri
Thank you,
Mahamahotsav.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Prabhuji, thank you.
Thank you. There are some chat messages that I didn't see. I will look at them. I'm stopping the recording. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.